your book. You chose a booklet today to work on? Now, did you do any writing yet, or have you been thinking about what you're going to write?
Thinking.
You've been thinking, and what have you thought? What have you decided that you want your book to be about?
I lost 6 teeth.
You lost 6? You really did, or you think you will someday?
I did.
6 are gone? Holy moly, we have to call you Mr. Holy Mouth. So you want to write a book about losing 6 teeth. So let's look at it. Since you didn't start it yet, we can start it today. And we met when we talked about how we're always trying to push ourselves to write a little more. So what did you decide that today you were going to try to do? You're going to try and write more sentences or more letters or more words, or what are you going to try and do?
Write 2 sentences.
I'm going to try and write a couple of sentences. Well, here, pick yourself a pencil. And your book, let's just look at each page and you can tell what each page will tell. This is about losing teeth. And what do you think would be a good first page of a book about teeth falling out? Do you want, first before you even say, do you want your book to be about losing 1 tooth? Or do you want it to be about how you get your tooth out? Or do you want it to be about how you feel when you, how are you going to do it? Because a tooth book could be so many different ways.
It was bleeding a lot.
So it's going to be about 1 tooth that was bleeding out. So is this what the first page will say? It was bleeding a lot. What will the second page say? What happened next after it was bleeding a lot?
Some blood was still on the tooth.
Did the tooth already come out? Did the tooth come out on this page or on the first page? How could you write that so we know? What will it say? My tooth was bleeding a lot. And then what did this one say? There was a
hole in my mouth.
There was a hole in my mouth. You could draw a funny picture here of a big mouth with a hole. And then what will the last one say?
Then the grown-up tooth grew.
Oh, then the grown-up tooth. This is going to be a great book. This is like showing what happens when a tooth falls out. So let's start your writing on your first page. You want your first page to say, the tooth was bleeding a lot. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and get started writing that? So you've got this up. Will you read me the first 2 pages? Go ahead.
There was a hole in my mouth.
I'll read the next one anyway, even though it's not there. Just pretend.
I forgot what it was.
There's something about the new big tooth.
The grown-up tooth was there.
The grown-up tooth was there. Now, when you go back to your seat, you told me that you were going to try and put a couple of sentences on each page. And I want to show you one way you can do it. Open up to your first page one more time, Sean. One thing that writers do, and you're going to be the first person I teach this to today, so you can maybe help teach the class another day. That's a good thing to do, is to teach your friends things. Is here you wrote, it was bleeding a lot. And one thing that writers do, here, look up at me. One thing that we do is we tell something that happened, and then we tell how we were feeling about it or what we were thinking. So you tell me, when that tooth was bleeding a lot, what were you feeling or what were you thinking that you could write? When all that blood was coming out.
It tastes gross.
It tasted gross. So you could write that. That could be your second sentence. It tasted gross. Now let's look at the next page. There was a hole in my mouth. Now there's a hole in your mouth, but what were you feeling or thinking about that?
It was a big hole.
And it was a big hole. And what were you thinking about that big hole?
That it was deep.
It was a big, deep hole. You can write that on here. Do you know that? You can have those sentences. When you go back to your seat, Sean, that's what I want you to do. I want you to go back and all those smart things you said, write that second sentence here and write that second sentence here. And don't let your book stay blank. Okay? You got a lot. This is a great. Yeah, I bet there are some boys and girls in here who didn't lose any teeth yet. Do you think you have any friends with no teeth lost? And when they read your book, do you know what they're going to know? They're going to know how it feels. They're going to get all excited. They're say, I read Sean's book about losing teeth. So when you go back, tell all the parts, okay? So you're ready. When you get back, you're ready to do this sentence and your last page. Are you ready to do it? Go ahead. Do you think you're going to lose any more? I think you might. Thanks a lot, Sean.